Okay.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Dan Bates, President and CEO, Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. And we are so happy that you could join us this morning for a really interesting topic. Our guest speaker is Asma from New American Economy. We started this relationship several months ago, and they recently conducted a study in Butler County with some really interesting data that we've been sharing with our board members and others, but we wanted to share that information and what it means to the business community in our county on a broader scope. So we're really excited to get to that. So we'll allow Asma to introduce herself a little bit right before she starts. So just kind of the protocol here, we are on Zoom. You can ask questions of the presenter directly through Zoom, your chat box, or raise your hand, or however you want to do that. If you are on Facebook Live, if you type in your question, Tiffany will repeat that question to our speaker so she can address it. So with that being said, you know who I am. Now let's find out who all of you are. Laura?
All right. Hi, everybody. Glad you all get on today. I'm Laura Merrill with the Greater Hamilton Chamber. So we'll just go around. We'll have everybody, please let me know your name and what company you're with. And Mike, we will start with you.
I am Mike Gettert. I am a funeral director and advanced planning specialist with Brown Dawson Flick Funeral Home.
All right, Nancy.
I'm Nancy O'Neill with the Greater Hamilton Chamber.
Jill.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jill Cates. I'm with Easter Steel's Career Connection.
Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Sandlin. My company's name is EmpowerWorks. I teach people how to own their life, health, and wealth through education, design, and financial services.
Great, glad to have you with us today. John, welcome. Let us know who you are.
I'm John Murray. I have two companies. WordsRack is a web hosting company, and LTC USA is, I've been an insurance agent for 35 years. Thank you.
All right. Steve.
Hello, everyone. Steve Wayne, Assistant Director of Employer Relations for Miami University Regionals.
All right, Adam, good to see you today. Let us know who you are.
Yeah, my name is Adam Gabbard. I'm the client lead and over to the new business for Iron House Studios. We're a video marketing agency.
Wonderful, glad to see you. Mo.
And unmute. There we go. Hi, folks. My name is Mo. I'm from New American Economy, and I'm supporting my colleague, Asma Easa, who is going to be chatting with you all about a report we did recently today.
Wonderful. Glad to have you here. Kyle, are you listening? Nope, there you go.
Yep. Hey, sorry. My name is Kyle Petty. I'm the statewide organizer for Ohio Business for Immigration Solutions. We obviously work very closely with New American Economy. And sorry, my camera's not on. I'm actually on the road this morning, so I'll just be listening to everybody and look forward to hearing from everyone.
Wonderful. Glad to have you with us today. Tiffany.
I'm Tiffany Grab with the Greater Hamilton Chamber.
Wonderful. Glad to have everyone here. Asma, we will let you take it away.
Great, sounds good. Nice to see everyone and nice to meet you virtually. Thank you, Dan, for the introduction, and thank you for joining this presentation. To say, needless to say, I know it's a busy time in everyone's world, so I do appreciate your attendance, and it is a real testament of your interest in this topic. So thank you. Again, my name is Asma Easa. I'm the Senior Policy Fellow of State and Local Initiatives at New American Economy, and I'm here to present on the report titled New Americans in Butler County that was just produced in December of 2020 in collaboration between New American Economy and the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. I'll start with an overview of New American Economy before diving into the data of the report that was published. So I will start sharing my presentation right now. All right, is everyone viewing it appropriately? Okay, great. So starting ahead. Oh, and just a note, if anyone has questions, please feel free to post them in the chat and we will have a Q&A session at the end of the session. Okay, so let's get started. Before I start to get into the data of the report, we wanted to just give an overall overview of New American Economy, the nonprofit that I work at. It is a bipartisan research and advocacy organization fighting to change the narrative about immigrants in America. And it started 10 years ago by a group of civic, municipal, and business and political leaders who believe that immigration is fundamentally an economic issue. And wanted to be talking about immigration in a different way. So instead of focusing on the polarization that happens on either side of the political spectrum, we instead look at the economic imperative and focus on that way through data and facts to find common ground on immigration reform. In our work, we use original research to quantify exactly how immigrants are an economic asset at every level of the economy in every community. And so we look at the local, the state, and the county level, and then also the federal level. A critical part of understanding the research is looking at immigrants at the state and local level, like I mentioned. And so we focus, one of our areas of focus is through our state and local initiatives. And this is where we connect with business leaders, civic communities, nonprofits, and also the business community through chambers of commerce. And this is how we connect, and we work on several projects through advocacy, organization, but also just producing reports and highlighting what's important to local economies and local communities. Okay, so moving on, I'm just going to talk about the Global Talent Chamber Network. This is a network that is part of New American Economy, and it is a network of the business community. And this brings together chambers of commerce from across the country who see immigrant integration as an economic growth strategy. Through this network, we offer research, we offer technical assistance, and we offer strategic advice to chambers on issues of immigration integration, and also economic development. Members of the network have access to our support through tailored economic reports, communications and messaging, plug and play advocacy opportunities and campaigns, and also online resources and toolkits that they can lean on when doing outreach or work with their local communities and business partners. We work on a number of issues related to immigrant integration, but for today, I'm just going to focus on one, which is specifically the economic impacts of immigrants in Butler County and Ohio. So let's start taking a look at the findings of the report. So just to begin, I wanted to highlight that the data we pulled come from the years of 2013 and 2018, and these figures all refer to Butler County as a region. We define an immigrant as anyone born outside of the US and not to US born parents, regardless of status. From these figures, you'll see that 6% of the population in Butler County were immigrants, and between 2013 and 2018, the overall population in Butler County increased by 2%, and the immigrant population in Butler County grew by 17.9%. A critical part of this research is understanding who immigrants are. And so specifically looking at Butler County, we see that the top 5 countries of origin in Butler County include Mexico, India, China, Vietnam, and the Philippines. One thing to point out that is unique for Butler County specifically is that the top 3 countries, Mexico, India, and China, are fairly evenly split, and we do not often see this in other communities. This tells us that not only Butler County is diverse, but it is also bringing in the foreign population, and it's showing where these people are from. So when continuing to look at immigration in Butler County and comparing it to the nation, Butler County does stay true to national trends. We found that 45.9% of the overall population growth in Butler County from the years of 2013 to 2018 came from immigrants. This isn't reflected on the slide, but just some points I wanted to share with you guys. This is all how it compares to other areas in Ohio. So we found in the Dayton region, 68.9% of population growth was attributable to immigrants. And then when looking at Akron, the population actually decreased by 1%, but the immigrant population increased by 20%. And so without that immigration population growth, the decline in Akron's region would have been even greater by 0.9%. When looking at the foreign-born share of the population, immigrants make up about 4.7% of the population overall in Ohio. When comparing that to Butler County, we see that 6% of the population are immigrants. And then comparing that to the national average, it is 13.6%. So immigrants are playing a really integral role in the Butler County story. And now we're going to dive into some of the economic impacts of immigrants in Butler County. Given their income, immigrants contributed significantly to state and local taxes, including property, sales, and federal tax. The immigrant population leaves a significant concrete economic footprint, which is a tax base that supports city infrastructure, it supports the workforce and attracts businesses and drives job growth. And it's also a solid foundation of consumer spending that can go back into the local economy. So when looking at Butler County specifically, we saw that the immigrant household total income in 2018 was over $778 million. Of this income, over 75 million went to state and local taxes and over 146 million went to federal taxes. This left immigrants with a total of 556 million in spending power, which is roughly 6.8% of all the spending power in the region. So looking at how immigrant workers contributed to the Butler County GDP, we found that immigrants contributed 1.4 billion to the total GDP for Butler County. This accounts for 7.4% of the total GDP, which is considerable, comparing that immigrants in Butler County make up 6% of the population. So with this income, we see that immigrants are also supporting federal entitlement programs, which is critical to note within the context of the fact that nationally our population is aging out of the workforce and will be increasingly relying on these programs. And so for Butler County specifically, in the year of 2018, immigrants contributed of over 77 million to Social Security and 20 million to Medicare. So digging a little deeper into these entitlement programs, we found that over 68% of immigrants in Butler County actually had private healthcare coverage, and only 22% were receiving Medicare or Medicaid in the year of 2018. And there is some pie charts to compare this to the national average. So now we're going to look at some characteristics of the labor force in Butler County. And before we get into that, I just wanted to define, we define working age as 16 to 64 years of age. And so although the population in Butler County made up, the immigrant population in Butler County made up 6%, the regions, they represented 7.9% of the region's working age population, 7.2% of the employed labor force, and 13.7% of its STEM workers in 2018. And STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. It's important to pay attention that immigrants only make up 6% of the total population, but make up over 13% of the STEM workers in the region, which is over double. This is specifically important to Butler County and Ohio's economy, because we found that across Ohio in 2015, there were 18 STEM job postings published online for every unemployed STEM worker. So here we see that immigrants are filling vital roles. When businesses and employers can't fill these positions, it can mean more than just stunted economic growth. These businesses can become slower to adapting trends. It restricts their ability to innovate, and it also makes them nimble for rapidly changing markets. Looking at other key industries that immigrants played in Butler County, we see that the top 5 industries that immigrants took the largest share of the workforce were manufacturing, construction, professional services, hospitality, and general services. For professional services, most of these industries include professions that require a degree, a license, such as legal services, accounting, and scientific research and consulting services. General services are identified as personal services, so laundry services, barbershops, repair and maintenance, and religious organizations, social services, and also labor unions. Because of the role that immigrants played in the workforce, helping companies keep jobs on the soil, we estimate that immigrants living in the region of Butler County actually helped to create or preserve 1,042 local manufacturing jobs that would have otherwise vanished or moved elsewhere by the year of 2018. Moving on into the educational attainment in Butler County, we found that immigrants tend to have significantly higher levels of education than their US residents in the county. The share of the city's population aged 25 or older that hold a bachelor's degree in 2018 was over 37%. And then the share of the city's population that held an advanced degree over the age of 25 in the year of 2018 were over 18%. Immigrants as a group have a very unique distribution of educational attainment. And as such, immigrants play a crucial role in filling gaps in the workforce at both ends of the skill spectrum, from doctors and engineers to service workers and more labor-intensive jobs. A few other economic contributions that international students gave to Butler County was that they supported local jobs, and they also contributed to the local economy. So for the year of 2018, there was a total of 3,367 international students enrolled in local colleges and universities in that fall, and they contributed over 165 million to the local economy and supported over 2,000 local jobs. Another thing to look at that is important of the immigrants in Butler County and nationally are the naturalization rates. So we found in Butler County that above 48% of immigrants in Butler County were naturalized, 25% were potentially eligible, and 25% were potentially not eligible. And so when immigrants are naturalized, they are able to increase their earning potential, and it makes it easier for them to be business owners. If they're eligible to naturalize and they choose not to, it does limit their earning potential and their ability to become business owners, which is important because nationally we find that immigrants are more likely to be self-employed and to have their own businesses than the rest of the population, which creates jobs for the surrounding communities. This is another area we see immigrants driving growth, which is small business owners and entrepreneurship, both in job creation and local economic activity. Despite making up 6% of the population in Butler County, immigrants made up 7.4% of the business owners in the region and were 2.3% more likely to be entrepreneurs than their US counterparts. So taking a look at another important area of immigrant economic impacts in Butler County is looking at their housing wealth. When you own a home, not only are you supporting property taxes and stabilizing the housing market, but you're also committing to staying in the community and really investing in your community and supporting your local businesses. And so in Butler County, we found that 55% of immigrant households owned their houses with a total property value of $1.2 billion. And about 36.7% of immigrants in the region were renters, paying $35.8 million in annual rent. Another thing that I wanted to share with you is just a few resources that New American Economy has for people in Ohio to lean on and people not nationally to lean on, which is state compacts and immigration and business coalitions that we have created over the years through our state and local initiatives. One of our state compacts and business coalitions that we just launched in December of 2020 is Ohio Business for Immigration Solutions. If anyone is interested or curious about this, please feel free to email me or pop a question into the chat and we can share our website for the Ohio Coalition. And it will outline who our members are, what our compact is and our guiding principles. And also if you are interested or have any questions, there will be a contact form that you can fill out and it will send us an email. Another resource that we have at New American Economy is an interactive data map. If you go to maptheimpact.org, it is a comprehensive map that includes data on the state, metro, county, and congressional district levels. And so this highlights workforce demographics, economic impacts, demographic statistics, and other things that are important to a lot of our state and local partners. I invite you all to check it out, and please let me know if you have any questions about anything that was presented in this organization or this presentation, whether it is New American Economy, the findings of the report, the Ohio Coalition, or any of the other things that we discussed. And listed on the slide is my email. Please feel free to email me. And now we will move into open questions.
Asma, we have a couple from Facebook Live.
Of course.
I think you answered the first one, but I'll go ahead and ask it. In addition to just job placement, do you have the breakdown on how many immigrants own businesses in Butler County?
How many immigrants own businesses in Butler County? We do not have the numerical amount, but we are able to look at, like, yeah, the one that we touched on is the percentage of entrepreneurs and small business owners. If I can refer back to our research team and see if we have the exact number of quantity of immigrants owning businesses in Butler County.
Okay, cool. And I think the percentage that was 7.4%, was that correct?
Of entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Okay, and then the second question from Matt King, how has COVID affected immigrant job placement and ownership in businesses?
That is a very good question. Job placement. So I'll start with that. How has COVID affected immigrant job placement? So one thing that we have found is that immigrants work in a lot of the high demand industries for essential workers. That includes hospitality, tourism, healthcare. And so not only has that impacted the national overall ability for people to work, but specifically immigrants do play a high role in these industries. And so it has affected job placement, but it also has, and then I'm sorry, could you repeat the second part of the question?
Yep. How has COVID affected immigrant job placement / ownership in businesses?
Ownership. We have seen that some nationally, and looking at Ohio, it has affected people that were small business owners and unfortunately had to stepped out of their office. They went out of business. They had to give up their pursuits in continuing their business, but then also it halted a lot of people's plans in terms of opening their businesses. And so because there is an extreme lack of people's access to information, access to financial support, not just for immigrants, but also for everyone in the economy, it has severely affected. And we are specifically looking at how to support immigrants in these industries, because one of the things that we have found and highlight is that the more immigrants are supported in getting back into these important industries, including healthcare, hospitality, workforces, will help the national economic recovery and then also Ohio's economic recovery.
Asma, I have a second part of that question. Have you guys seen any research on if larger cities were impacted, as far as entrepreneurs in larger cities, were they impacted at a greater rate than smaller communities?
Sorry, Dan, you cut out a little bit. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, I said, do you have any numbers on the immigrants who lost their businesses or failed to start them during COVID?
Oh.
Did you see any difference between larger cities and smaller communities?
That
in
is
those numbers?
Yeah, that is a great question. We actually are trying to pull a lot of those numbers because these things are very recent. We're still trying to collect this data as a national average. It's a little bit hard to pull this data at a national average, but also state and local. So we're still trying to pull those numbers. We have found that states or smaller businesses are struggling because they might have a lack of access to, for example, the PPE loans, understanding these kind of resources that are in the community and a federal level, also a state level. Specifically, immigrants are sometimes constricted to the relief that they can access and their understanding of this kind of support with small businesses. And I'm sure that everyone is well aware of the struggles that everyone dealt with small businesses accessing these kind of loans to keep their business afloat. So we are still trying to pull that data, but that is something that we are keeping our eye on.
Asma, one quick question. On your slide where you had the percentage of naturalized potential and no potential, were your numbers for income, healthcare, housing, everything like that, did that include all three of those categories?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
And I'll share the PowerPoint and the report too with Dan, and he will be able to share it with anyone that's interested as well. Are there any other questions about the findings of the report? Also, if there's any questions that you guys are curious about that we didn't share in the report, please feel free to reach out to email me, email Dan, and we can always ask our research team to see if that data is available.
I just
Dan, I
wanted
think you're muted. Go ahead,
sorry.
Adam.
I just wanted to say thanks for sharing that presentation. It was honestly, you left me with no questions because you gave me a lot of information that I didn't know before, which is super exciting to kind of see those numbers and actually have facts behind things along with immigration and what role it plays in our economy. So I really appreciate you going through that and kind of what New American economy does as far as collecting data and whatnot. So I'm excited to kind of look into what else you all do and the reports you pull.
Thank you. And if anyone is curious, I'll also include, we just, along with the report on Butler County, we also published a report on Dayton metro area and a report on the Akron metro area. So those are available publicly on the New American Economy website, so I can share those as well.
Asma, I have one other question.
Of course.
Kind of what's next as far as, we have a snapshot, we have some data. What, in your partnership with local businesses in this chamber, like what would be the next steps that you would like to see?
Of course. So we always highlight that it is very important to focus on what's appropriate for your local state, for your local community, and what is plausible. And for the state of Ohio, it not only is it important to advocate, but it is also important to educate. We really do believe at New American Economy that half of the battle about understanding how complex this is of an issue is understanding the economic impacts of immigrants. And so sharing, one of the ways that we find is helpful is sharing the report, sharing the numbers with your local business partners, with your local elected officials, with your senators, governors. Just sharing the data is the first step to really help people understand numerically what immigrants are contributing to the economy and how it would affect the local and state economic situations if immigrants weren't also coming to these places. As I presented, not only in Butler County, but in so many regions across America, we see that immigrants create a lot of population growth. And with a lot of people leaving big cities specifically, especially with COVID, for example, that's a very important thing to make sure that your cities and your counties are welcoming to people, welcoming to everyone, no matter their immigration status, and having the ability to support these people so that they can also support the local economy.
So Tiffany, I know we shared the report before, but we could certainly put this out in our e-newsletter with a link so that people who weren't able to join us today can view it on the YouTube channel later.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And I shared in the chat our main New American Economy website. Through that, you can use the search engine and find any of our reports that I referenced: Butler County, Akron, Dayton. We also have at the top that you will be able to find the Map the Impact resource. And so Map the Impact is interactive. You can click on what state you want to look at, what congressional district you want to look at, what county or metro area you want to look at, and it will pull up the numbers. Our data that we have included, we just updated recently, so the data includes up to the year of 2019.
Asma, if we want to reach you personally, do you want us to go through Hamilton Chamber to get your email?
It's up to you guys. Dan is always a great support, and I'm sure we'll be in constant communication. And then I'll also drop my email right now in the chat.
Okay.
All right, so that's been some amazing information today. Very informative, Asma. We will get information from you, and then we will email that out to everybody on the coffee today. And we will be back in 2 weeks. So March 9th, 9 a.m. Mark your calendars. We've got something fantastic planned. We will let you know what it is a little closer to it when we know exactly what it is. But we appreciate you all getting on today. Any last questions?
No, I would just say we have several speakers lined up for the future, which is very exciting. It's just coordinating people's schedules. So
just got to finalize the last details.
I guarantee you they will all be almost as good as today. So
almost, yes, I agree.
Information that you need.
Right. We just have to finalize a couple things. So we appreciate everybody getting on. If you check us out next time on March 9th, 9 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.